Daily Dose of Wisdom had a conversation with Alex O'Connor, gently pressing him, questioning him about his ethical, moral framework, and this was fascinating. Let's talk about it. Alex O'Connor has been making the rounds, and I've been loving to see it, talking to all kinds of people in the theist world. And here, I'm so happy that he's talking to Daily Dose of Wisdom. He has a fantastic YouTube channel. Please check out Daily Dose of Wisdom. I mean, he's closing in on 900,000 subscribers. Super well-deserved. He basically does like existence of God or reaction type videos like all the time. So please check him out. But here he's going to ask Alex O'Connor questions about his ethical framework called emotivism. Check this out.
Do you believe in objective morality? You said you're not a moral realist.
That's right.
So does that mean you don't believe in any, that anything is actually ultimately good or bad?
Before Alex gives his answer, what is objectively good is to like the video, comment on this video, your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, consider supporting on Patreon.
That's right, with a caveat, which is that, and again, a throat clearing that I'm agnostic to varying degrees, and so I could be totally wrong about this, but broadly speaking, I'm an emotivist, which is a theory of ethics, but more than that, it's really a theory of language. It tries to offer an account of what people mean when they say something is good or bad. And it characterizes these statements as expressions of emotion. So that when someone says murder is good, they're expressing some kind of contentment towards murder. When they say murder is bad, they're expressing some kind of discontent towards it. That means that when you say, do I think that there are things that are good? It's like, because I understand the language emotively, I can say, yeah, I think that this is good and this is bad. But objectively, no. Like, it would be misleading. But it would also be misleading to say that I'm like a subjectivist. I'm literally thinking that these statements are just expressions of emotions. It's kind of hard to explain briefly. But
well, can I ask it just to...
One thing Alex says, and I'm not sure if he already said it or if he's going to say it later, but it's kind of like if you say murder is bad, that's just you that's just you using language that expresses the way murder makes you feel. So one thing he literally says, it's like boo murder. And if someone thinks murder is good, that's like you're saying yay murder. So it's like not really like a moral a reality as much as it is just your emotional reality.
Help the audience track with us, because I've been very aware coming into this conversation that you can lose a lot of people when you get too technical or parlancy or whatever. Mm-hmm. So let me put it this way. What's the difference between Jack the Ripper and a surgeon if there is no value, if it's just the objective fact of what took place?
Oh, this is a great question. Check this out.
For the emotivist, it would be the emotional reaction that you have to either of them.
And the you in that sentence is Alex O'Connor.
Yes, although the emotivist kind of thinks that that's what everyone is doing, even if they don't realize it. But yes.
So if I have a totally different emotional response to that, then for me, let's say, for example, let's say that you emotionally believe that slavery is good. Mm-hmm. And now I'm trying to convince you otherwise and say, Alex, no, come off the cliff, steer clear. Yep. Now, what resources do I have to help you not do this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And
so what's the difference between Jack the Ripper and a surgeon? It's basically in the eye of the beholder, kind of based off of what Alex O'Connor said. It's just the way they make you feel, basically. And so now he brings it over to something like slavery, for example, and it's going to get really difficult for Alex to kind of make a good argument about this.
Now, what resources do I have to help you not do this thing and join the KKK or whatever the case might be?
It's a great question, and it's got, I think, some really interesting ways to answer it. Like, the way that you've asked it specifically does allow me to answer you in a way that might satisfy the question, but to really steelman what I think you're saying, like the strongest version of this is to say that if there is genuinely just an irresolvable conflict in emotive state towards two things, then there is nothing you can do to say that somebody is right or wrong, because emotional states can't be right or wrong. The thing about emotivism is it's a form of ethical theory known as non-cognitivism. In ethics, if you're a cognitivist about ethics, it means that you think that moral statements can be true or false. If you're a non-cognitivist, it means that you don't think they can be true or false. Not subjectively, not objectively, they just can't be true or false. Take the statement, go over there. If I said to you, go over there, like a command, is that true or false? It's not that you just don't know if it's true or false. It's neither. It can't be either. It's not the kind of statement that can be true or false. So for the emotivist, when you say, like, murder is wrong, famously, it's like going, boo, murder, or like writing the word murder with an angry face emoji next to it. It's not the kind of thing that can be true or false. So the problem with that is of course, that if I say murder is good and you say murder is bad, like, how can we resolve that, right? The thing is that when, take the slavery example, right? When somebody says, like, slavery is good, I don't think that they are having, even as a motivist, I don't think they're having like a surface level emotive reaction to slavery itself. I think that they've got some kind of emotive state buried down within them, and they've got a bunch of factual claims built up on top of it. So, for example, I used to have this conversation all the time when talking about veganism, because I used to be a vegan, and I used to convince people to be vegans. And they would say to me what you just said. They said, you're a moral emotivist. You think that you don't like the killing of animals, and I do. Like, how can you say that I'm wrong? And I would say, okay, well, the problem is that I'll find an emotive statement that we do both share. So, for example, do you think that it's wrong to unnecessarily inflict suffering upon animals? And I'll go, yeah. Okay, we agree. Now, I think that's just an emotive expression, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that we both have that emotive expression. Then what I'll do is I'll move purely into the factual realm. I'll say, okay, is it necessary to eat animal products? No. Does eating animal products cause harm to animals? Yes. Therefore, eating animal products causes unnecessary harm to animals? Yes. This is all just factual, no moral statements or anything. But then you take this original emotive thing that you've gotten to agree with, that unnecessary suffering of animals is wrong, and you prove that this statement of like eating meat being wrong is in accordance with that emotive statement. And that's the conversation that you have. So
that's as good as it gets. He's got to find a place of agreement and then build a logical conundrum for you to get you to agree with him. That's really what it is. It's got to be based off of whether or not you agree with it. Whether or not you agree with some kind of a foundational principle, not whether or not it's just right, because there is nothing like that. It's just whether or not you feel good or whether or not you feel bad about something, and he can find common ground with you there. And Daily Dose of Wisdom is about to point out how weak that is. If I'm going to prove to you that eating meat is wrong, well, then I have to find some kind of a opinion or feeling that we both share, and then put you in a logical conundrum, basically, and get you to have to believe me.
Have a dispute about whether the surface level moral claim, like slavery is wrong, eating animal products is wrong, whatever, you have a conversation about whether that actually accords with their most fundamental emotive value. And even as an ethical emotive... Yeah, sorry, I've been banging on. You go ahead.
No. So this is my problem with that, is, in fact, a couple days ago, I heard someone starting a rumor that you were working on a petition to bring the KKK to the UK. And I thought, there's no way. But then I realized that if enough people agreed with the emotional response that, slavery is good, if you get that buy-in at the baseline level, then you magically transform what all of our intuitions are saying is bad into something that's good based on what you just laid out, which I have a big problem with.
Okay, for the record, of course, you're making a point.
Yes, this is not real. This is not real, people. Hopefully everyone knows that.
I get what you're saying, but I'm interested into what you mean by this. You said this intuition that we all share.
Well, I'm saying, okay, well... Let's just focus on like the logic of what you laid out within veganism and applying that to this topic.
I love that. See, Alex O'Connor tried to fixate on one little phrase of that, and he goes, "Forget that. Let's deal with just the point that I'm making here, because it's the same thing that you said about veganism. I'm using it about the KKK."
Almost the question of like how many people makes a culture, or how much buy-in do you need in order to justify something or to transform it into something that was priorly considered to be immoral, and now it has been magically turned into something moral based on that buy-in. That's basically the question.
Yeah, I get you. And by the way, I do just want to sort of accept the criticism at face value, which is that as an ethical emotivist, where there are genuinely, like if we just stipulate that there is a genuinely irresolvable conflict of emotive states, then yeah, that's just something that cannot be resolved. And the emotivist has no framework with which to say somebody is correct and somebody is incorrect. I will just accept that criticism. I do think that is a problem, or at least in the sense that it's very uncomfortable. It's not a nice fact, right? So I totally understand what you're saying. Is that this is not like yay, awesome, like great, like there's no objective ethics. Like it's not a nice thing. But I do think that the extent to which people think that it causes just unresolvable moral disputes is highly overblown. I think that's so it is a problem in the sense that it's uncomfortable. No one wants this to be the case. It'd be great if there were such thing as ethics, but I don't think it's quite as much of a problem as people often make it out to be. But
so basically, his answer there is yes, you got me there. That is an area where my moral ideas or my moral system kind of fails, or just my emotive system fails. But I don't think that will happen. That's literally what he's got there. You're totally right. That's a major flaw in what I believe, that if something like that were to happen, there's a major flaw in what I believe, in that I can't resolve those kinds of conflicts. However, I don't think that'll happen. Like, again, the hypothetical was, what if like you, Alex O'Connor, were starting a petition to bring back the KKK, like, and you started to convince people, try to get people in a logical conundrum based off of foundational emotion that you both share about something. What do you have to say about that? And he goes, well, I mean, for resolving the conflict and stuff like that, he goes, I've really got nothing for that, but I just don't think that it'll ever happen. And I think that when people say that it might happen, I think they're just overblowing the situation. That's all he's got. And that is a huge moment, and why I think even the title of the video is Surprising Ending, because here he goes like, yeah, my idea kind of fails there. I've got no answer for that. I've got no way to resolve that kind of an apparent issue, and that is a major issue.
But like, to save the time, I'm willing to just accept what you're saying, which is if you stipulate that there's just a conflict of emotions. Yeah, like I'm not a moral realist, so of course I can't say that one of those is true or false.
I can't wait to see that full thing, man. That's so exciting. His position fails here, and he goes, yeah, it kind of fails there. But I don't think that those bad consequences that come from believing in this will ever happen. And that is very similar. It is very similar to the thought process of the new atheists a few decades ago. They just thought like any of the quote unquote like logical conclusions of this are overblown. And then you have guys like Dawkins saying like, we didn't really think about all the consequences of attacking Christianity day in and day out in Europe. And then as Christianity begins to wane because of guys like us in part, and then as Islam grows in this great popularity, we find out that, well, the world is so much worse when there is less Christianity, and atheism has not filled the void, which caused people like Ayaan Hirsi Ali to take off from atheism and to proclaim and claim Christianity in her life. And so they go, yeah, we just, we thought it was overblown, but it wasn't overblown, but we still believe in atheism. We kind of don't believe in God. You see that? These systems, these ideas, these thought processes, they fail. They fail every single time. And I wish that people would stop trying to lawyer their way away from Christianity and see it the way other people see it, which is this is the only system that truly does make sense. And maybe we don't have all the questions answered, but this is definitely the only system where things truly make sense. But let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, consider supporting on Patreon. The link is in the description below. God bless you all. And again, give me your thoughts on all this, and Lord willing, I will talk to you soon. Take care. Goodbye.